Hello, and welcome to this talk on 2021 as the Year of the Hybrid. I'm Jim Richberg, the Field Chief Information Security Officer at Fortinet, who deals largely with the public sector. Fortinet is one of the world's largest cybersecurity companies and asked me to join their team because I spent 34 years in the US federal government at levels ranging from student intern to being the senior executive setting cyber strategy and policy for 17 national departments and agencies. I spent much of my career working as an intelligence analyst, which meant making forecasts and assessments. I'll give you my forecast of things to watch for this year, but you are not only going to hear my opinion, my conclusions are backed by data. I helped design a survey of business that was conducted in Canada last October to assess how the global pandemic was affecting organizations' IT and security plans. For government and the private sector alike, 2021 is likely to be a year of transition and refocused activity, a year of hybrid activity. And by hybrid, I don't mean the cars that some of us drive when we're not in lockdown, but rather the way we operate as organizations and employees. I see at least 3 dimensions of hybrid activity that affect IT and cybersecurity. I will describe these and then talk about ways that public sector organizations can address these changes. For employers and employees alike, 2021 will mark an expansion of hybrid work patterns and locations as we seek to define our new normal for post-COVID operations. While some organizations may return operation fully to their physical offices, many are likely to continue to let a significant number of employees work remotely for at least part of their work week. This is borne out in our survey. Over 2/3 of the firms surveyed expect half or more of their workforce to continue to work remotely a significant amount of the time, as much as 75%. Most are planning to, or frankly already have, invested resources in enhancing home office employee productivity. Some organizations are changing their practices to allow for the hiring of employees who are fully remote and don't live within commuting distance of their place of employment. Collectively, these trends will continue to make secure remote telework an ongoing priority rather than a COVID problem that goes away with herd immunity. The number, size, location, and even function of physical offices may change. Organizations are talking about having fewer and smaller offices, about switching to hoteling versus exclusive desks dedicated to each worker, about making offices the hub for services such as access to specialized equipment and data not feasible to provide to each remote employee, and potentially to locate some of these offices closer to their geographically dispersed workforce. Within these broad trends, our survey showed 42% of organizations plan to expand the number of offices they have compared to only 25% who expect to reduce their number of locations. The survey suggests that there is not yet consensus as to how the functions of physical offices will change, with a fairly even spread across the options in our survey. Taken as a whole, these trends have implications for the structure and flexibility of IT services and networks, which may need to flex to deal with both routine and extraordinary challenges like a pandemic that affect operations. Organizations will need to provide IT service anytime and any place to support their workforce and end users, and to do so securely. Software-defined networking, especially SD-WAN and SD-branch, will become increasingly important tools of network topology and security. Cloud-based operations, for everything from infrastructure to software, offer flexibility and agility, but place a premium on secure and consistent security policies and controls across operating environments. That is the first leg of the hybrid story, how change affects organizations and employees. We are also facing a continuation or expansion of hybrid modes of delivery of customer or citizen-facing service. Services that went digital for public health reasons during COVID-19 may again be offered through face-to-face transactions, but online options are here to stay. In fact, 88% of the businesses we surveyed plan further expansion of digital services for customers. This will place a premium on synchronizing and securing data and the delivery of service between the two modes in this hybrid operating pattern. In addition, as digital transformation continues, more organizations are expanding the deployment of smart operational technology, or OT, in their workplace, in areas ranging from core mission function to building maintenance, green infrastructure. This OT is increasingly internet connected, and IT-OT convergence will make this an increasingly hybrid operating environment. Use of robotic process automation, or RPA, in the form of digital storefront assistants or chatbots expanded dramatically during COVID to help thinly stretched government staff deal with the surge in citizen demand. Many of these RPA tools were used for simple applications, such as routing inquiries to the appropriate resource or office, and therefore could operate using only public-facing data. But these tools can also be used in more sophisticated and powerful fashions that may require access to potentially sensitive data or connections within government networks. This will increase the need to focus on security as government builds the tools and workflows of this hybrid service. Adoption of RPA was a priority for the companies we surveyed. This tracks with data from the U.S. public sector, where RPA use in major federal agencies doubled in the year prior to COVID. And with the onset of the pandemic, at the state and local level, RPA grew from a technology that was only used at scale in a handful of states in January to a technology that was the first line of citizen interaction with digital services in most states by June. In the U.S. federal government, RPA is used primarily for back office functions, such as enterprise resource planning and finance. At the state and local level, it's been used more heavily in citizen-facing services to compensate for those shortfalls in staff size. But adoption of RPA in government lags the pace of implementation in the private sector. One of the key impediments to progress is often the lack of a centralized management office for design and implementation of RPA, resulting in many parts of the same agency replicating functions and reinventing the wheel. That's why I listed a few lessons learned from successful implementation in government. But despite these challenges, the growing use of RPA for both outward-facing and back-office functions is an example of hybrid work processes and provision of services that will continue to grow this year. But we in government don't have a monopoly on innovation, and unfortunately, we will see a hybridization of the type of threats our networks face in 2021. Fortinet is a leading provider of global cyber threat intelligence, looking at an average of 100 billion pieces of security-related data each day. From this data, we see broadening and increasingly hybrid threat activity, including hybrid modes of attack that can represent a leveraging of multiple attack vectors, such as spear phishing, launched while a network's defenders are dealing with a denial of service attack, to increase the likelihood that a spear phishing email will be opened when users or the network defenders are distracted, dealing with the highly visible denial of service. The nature of cyber attacks is also changing. Since many organizations have developed capabilities to deal with large denials of service, threat actors are increasingly resorting to launching multiple smaller simultaneous attacks using different techniques and tactics to both stay below the threshold that would trigger an automated response and to require the defenders to try to manually mitigate multiple types of attack simultaneously. We are seeing malware combining multiple types of malicious effect as well, such as ransomware accompanied by the threat of doxing, the publication of stolen personal data, to increase the incentive for the victim to pay. We see a rise in hybrid malware, exploits created by combining the functions and modules of existing high-performing malware, For example, combining one malware package's infection module with another's ability to expand its presence laterally in the victim's network. This best-of-breed approach is akin to a Frankenstein monster created from the body parts of Olympic-level athletes. Threat hybridization also includes the leveraging of artificial intelligence and machine learning by attackers in areas such as content generation for spear phishing. An attacker may not only take a victim's address book and credentials, but also the contents of their email inbox and outbox. Widely available open source content generation AI has gotten sophisticated. So look for the rise of spear phishing that mirrors the style and syntax of a hijacked account's owner or tailors content and cadence to each targeted recipient. So what should you do to adapt to this changing and increasingly hybrid operating environment? Government is facing the perfect storm of rising demand and flat or contracting resources. So I think the key is to spend smartly and in areas that enhance operational flexibility and security. But what exactly does that mean? I'll lay out 3 areas or issues I think are worth considering. I would look first to lessons learned from the private sector as a starting point to find areas of the greatest impact to IT performance and security. Second, when it comes to cybersecurity investment and enhancement, I find that relatively few government organizations are aware of the growing capabilities of platforms, ecosystems of interoperable capability. And finally, there is a significant role for partnership in areas ranging from strategic advice to collaboration on threat intelligence and picking high-performing industry partners. Our survey suggested that the private sector is emphasizing the right areas, picking priorities such as zero trust, software-defined networking, and accelerated migration to the cloud. These businesses also recognize that it doesn't always make sense to try to do all security functions in-house, and they're increasingly turning to outside help for complex, higher-order functions such as security orchestration and response, advanced security analytics, and even for SOC as a service. I think the public sector would do well to look at these same solutions for inspiration. My motto as a government executive was never let a good crisis go to waste. IT and security were instrumental in the successful pivot to remote telework our organizations made last year. We should look to build on that legacy of success going forward, helping to further digital transformation, enhancing security, and controlling costs in government organizations. Look to areas such as increased automation and innovative and cost-effective IT solutions such as cloud services and software-defined networking, or SDN. For example, SDN, in the form of SD-WAN and SD-Branch, provides for efficient networking and connectivity. It's cheaper, it's more flexible, and it provides a better user experience. A win-win situation with tangible benefits. Due to functional and device consolidation, it is possible to find major IT products that are multi-purpose and where security is an integral function. For example, Secure SD-WAN is the latest generation of SD-WAN technology. So these devices are not only more secure out of the box, that they are often more advanced in each of their constituent capabilities. For instance, offering real-time encrypted traffic inspection on the security side and adaptive or self-healing traffic flows on the networking side. This can allow organizations to avoid having to make that classic trade-off between performance and security. My second lesson learned is to look at platforms as an underappreciated element of the cybersecurity landscape. In cybersecurity, we are often so close to our current problems and planning the next upgrade that we fail to see the forest for the trees, the strategic context. To set the context, what are some of the common explanations that are cited for why cybersecurity is so hard? Of course, because of the growing attack surface or vulnerability surface is one, the fact that it's growing in complexity and size. Because of the workforce shortage, the fact that we don't have enough people, they don't always have the right skills, and of course we don't have the right amount of funding. Because of data and solution overload. There are too many solutions to individual point problems, and in a typical enterprise, you may have 30 to 75 security products, each solving a separate product, with the poor security operations center analyst as the integrator of all of this. But what if? What if you instrument the key parts of that attack surface with devices that are both sensors and controls? You produce a security ecosystem, a platform, or as Fortinet calls it, a security fabric. You'd also drown in data, absent processing power, specifically artificial intelligence and machine learning, AI and ML, which brings me to the next factor. The intersection of increasingly powerful AI and ML with platforms is a potentially transformational element, a game changer. The platform sensors are the source of data. AI and ML are the engine that can make sense of that data, and the platform devices are also controls that can be directed by that AI and ML to take action at scale and in real time. Attackers are not invisible and omnipotent cyber ninjas. They typically try and fail repeatedly before penetrating a target, but rely on the fact that we as network defenders cannot look everywhere all the time, nor to know when something we detect is a genuine threat versus a false alarm. AI-powered instrumentation can produce a network of sensors that are always on and able to characterize normal versus abnormal behavior in real time, and to differentiate between abnormal and malicious. This has the potential to take away the attacker's advantages of relative stealth and speed. Big data is the fuel for AI and ML, and while there are niches of asymmetric advantage to the attacker, such as the content generation for spear phishing I described earlier, on balance, defenders should be able to have more data about their network than the attackers do. They also have the home field advantage. One of the first things an attacker does when they penetrate a target is to begin exploring, to answer the questions, where exactly am I? Is there anything interesting here? And what else does this network connect to? These are all things that the network's owner should already know. Defenders also benefit from insight gleaned from activity directed against other targets. Remember, these platforms are global, not limited in scope to a single enterprise. And this approach is based on automation that can compensate for the workforce and skills shortage we face. Visibility and control can be both broad and highly granular, down to this level of specific processes running in applications. And they're coupled with the ability to make and implement decisions in sub-second timeframes. These are the attributes that are key to enabling solutions such as dynamic zero trust. So with an AI platform approach, you can both minimize the likelihood of penetration and the damage when a breach occurs. So this sounds interesting in theory, but how does it work in practice? NSS Labs was the closest thing we have in cybersecurity to Consumer Reports. They did independent, rigorous testing against products in their out-of-the-box configuration, not highly tuned by experts. In 2019, they were asked by their customers to look into this idea of integrated platforms. So they ran a test to see whether leading solutions from the major providers could either stop a breach from occurring or detected that one had happened within 15 minutes of occurrence. They tested firewall products, and they found they were roughly 90+% effective at stopping the breach. From the same vendors, they took their best-of-breed endpoint solutions, and they were, as a class, somewhat more effective. Now, let me say that this does not mean endpoint products are more useful than firewalls. This is reflecting the testing bias, that if the goal was stopping something from getting into your network, something that could stop it at the perimeter was preferable to something like a firewall that dealt with it in the core. But ladies and gentlemen, the thing that is truly interesting is what's in this circle in red on this graphic. When you take those same capabilities and allow them to be knit together by AI and ML to become a simple integrated suite, as a class, they are more effective, and since cost drops as you move to the right on this graphic, they become more cost-effective as well. This is independent third-party validation that this idea of an integrated suite of components where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts genuinely works in practice. As a former government executive, I recognize that we have long been focused on the two P's of price and performance when we're evaluating our procurement options. I think it's time to add a third P, to recognize that security platforms exist and are increasingly powerful. Failing to do so ignores the benefit of free synergy. It prevents your organization from reaching that red circle of AI-powered performance on the NSS chart I just showed. Now, not all platforms are equal in power, in coverage, or in openness, but as you could see from that graph, any platform is likely to outperform non-platform point solutions, even those that are best of breed. Now, faced with an inability to identify the best platform for their need, I've talked to government officials who have been tempted to try to hedge their bets by diversifying and consciously spreading their investment across multiple platform ecosystems. But splitting investment across platform families does not increase defense in depth or give you compensating advantages. It merely minimizes synergy. Platforms tend to be multi-vendor ecosystems. In the case of Fortinet, there are over 400 other companies whose security products can interoperate with our security fabric, ranging from tight integrations with partners such as AWS down to the exchange of threat data at a level greater than that of Styx and Taxi. Partnerships are the third area I'd like to highlight. I recommend finding a trusted source of advice and counsel. This becomes more important the smaller your resource base is, since such organizations face the strongest imperative to spend smartly. A trusted partner can help identify and prioritize security essentials versus things that are nice to have. They can help you identify and take advantage of device consolidation. You may be planning to only upgrade one thing in your security infrastructure, but that one device could save you money and talent on maintaining multiple security solutions, even if you don't turn those additional capabilities on right away when you make the purchase. This advisor can help identify options that offer zero-touch or low-touch provisioning and operation, since no organization I've ever encountered has told me that it's overstaffed in terms of security. Such advice may come from a corporate source, but you should be confident that their focus is on helping you become more secure and efficient rather than on making a sale. Cyber threat intelligence is another area ripe for partnership. Threat intelligence is a topic that means different things depending on your background and your perspective, but producing and enriching it is a team sport. It is created in a variety of different forms and used for various purposes, from tactical, the digital signatures used in blocking and tackling of malicious activity on machines, to strategic information on threat actor plans and intentions that can inform leaders and drive change in organizational behavior. But even for large organizations with mature cybersecurity functions, it's difficult or impossible to have enough data and staff to go it alone. Partnerships, whether with commercial providers, participation in formal public-private information sharing, or within government, are key. You can't protect yourself effectively against a threat you don't understand. If you're attending this summit, I suspect you're already familiar with AWS and its capabilities, but you may not be as familiar with Fortinet. For more than 20 years, Fortinet has been a trusted brand in cybersecurity, so let me describe some of the most useful things to know about Fortinet and how it can help you. Fortinet offers the most widely deployed network security solutions in the world. It has the largest share of firewalls and unified threat management devices, over twice that of its next most widely deployed competitor. 500,000 organizations in the public and private sector worldwide rely on Fortinet to protect their data on site, in remote locations, or in the cloud. It has one of the largest networks of threat data, fed by anonymized telemetry from 6 million sensors from its security devices in those customers worldwide. It has built one of the largest global threat research and intelligence labs and has been using artificial intelligence and machine learning for 10 years in threat detection and analysis. It has discovered more zero-day exploits than any other company. Fortinet also boasts industry-leading performance. Its capabilities feature in 6 Gartner Magic Quadrant reviews, and 2020 marked the 11th consecutive year it's been named a leader by Gartner in network firewalls. In addition to offering high performance, Fortinet solutions typically come with a very low total cost of ownership. Because the devices are so powerful, you typically need fewer or smaller ones, and many of the operations can be automated, even in their out-of-the-box configuration. Virtually all products and services share a common operating system and use a single pane of glass view for simplified security and network management. Fortinet is also unique in having comprehensive platform coverage across the breadth of that attack surface. It has products and services at the edge, in the enterprise core, and in areas ranging from the cloud to on-site security cameras. This allows for consistency of security controls and policies regardless of the environment or the mission. This is important because inconsistency is another name for gap. And gaps can become vulnerabilities that the threat actors I've been describing can exploit. And like Amazon, Fortinet has fostered a culture of innovation. Fortinet holds nearly 3 times as many technology patents as any other security company and continually invests in innovation. The combination of Fortinet and AWS can be an important part of the solution for public sector agencies as they balance their need for security and accelerated digital transformation as part of the new normal pattern for operating in this hybrid environment I've described. Fortinet's partnership with AWS offers a better together solution that can ensure your workloads on AWS are protected by best-in-class security solutions and powered by comprehensive threat intelligence. This partnership leverages tight and seamless integrations between Fortinet's capabilities and key AWS services to simplify security management, ensure full visibility across environments, and provide broad protection across your workloads and applications. Whether you're expanding your AWS footprint, securing hybrid cloud assets, or currently migrating to AWS, Fortinet's Security Fabric delivers security-driven networking and adaptive cloud protection for the flexibility and control you need to have in the cloud. In conclusion, I've described a complex and dynamic ecosystem, one that is only becoming more challenging and hybridized, both for government organizations and the threats they face. Fortunately, there are high-quality resources and solutions you can leverage, including Fortinet and AWS, to help you address these challenges. Thank you for listening, and I would welcome your questions at the email address listed on this slide.